Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are. Thank you to be with us. Today, the team wanted that we speak about an Italian guy who really astonished me by his very fast vision, very sharp vision, by his character, which is always unhappy before, always unhappy just before, always very happy after, a way to put pressure to all the people around him. I want to speak about an aesthetic guy called Mr. Francesco Ragazzi from Palm Angels. We received a call from the head of communication, Giovanna Alderisi, to ask us to think about how we could find a venue in Paris for a show for this brand. And looking forward, we discuss about how the brand is situated. So we had a discussion through this lady of a definition of how she was seeing being a head of a group of brands communication, how she was seeing the specificity of this brand. And there is something about the beginning in Paris, not the beginning of the brand, but the beginning of showing in Paris. Was it a show? Was it a presentation again? The same problem appears. And we agree that a way of presentation, but making several shows, would be the best solution. So we speak, and I received the first inspiration elements from Francesco that I haven't met yet. The first element were images referring to Vietnam War, the fire in the forest, the napalm. It was very, very violent. And I didn't understand this violence because I took it to the first degree. And I think that people would have taken it on the first degree. And this is why we really exchanged by email about this first degree, what was my advice on how to use it and how to, until I understood that one of the roots from Francesco is this provocation. And there's something how to express through what he knows, what he exceeds in, which is fashion, which is graphism. How can he express his fear, but also his strength, how he can express the way he doesn't accept what is happening a lot of parts in the world. There is a lot of ways. You can write books, you can make films, you can make songs, music, you can make theater, you can tag the walls, or you can bring this message through fashion. Building a brand with this kind of roots, it's super respectful. So we begin by doing a show at the Beaux-Arts in a space that we totally twist, building several height stage on which the model were coming and then staying, creating like a crowd of people looking to the audience from the top. There was benches in front, and the front of the first, we say stage, which were not very deep on purpose, was a screen, a video screen, on which some of these images were passing with a very violent music. The kind of meeting between the colorful, peaceful, in a way, clothes to this aggressive music and these very violent images was really interesting. And so I begin to understand the way that Francesco was seeing about communicating a message, how he could be needed to try to, again, twist, switch things off and switch things on, make remember where we are living and why we are living. I wouldn't say it goes so deep in the will. I just want to say that the way I have felt it. Then we had to do the second show, And I suggested that we make the second show in a very, very classical, very, very fashion, which was the Salon Monsieur Saint Laurent was doing his couture, which is near the Rue de Rivoli, in front of the Jardin des Tuileries, just near the Place Vendôme, in one of the heart of luxury. And it was at this Westing Hotel under the Gold. But how to make this show and how to make it going through this message without video images. And this is why we thought of taking industrial fluorescent as they were falling from the ceiling. It means we have two lines of accumulation of fluorescent on a weird color, some kind of a violet color of runway, which was totally disconnected to all what is around, and to light only this runway, and to have these people arriving when the fluorescent were flickering, and so boom, they light up, and we made the show with the music, which was more reggae kind of music, if I remember. It was something more happy, but inside this bizarre. So what is this installation is doing here? And that was this question that we tried to succeed. After the show, Francesco gave us a call and gave me a call like maybe a couple of months after, saying, I think we have to move. I think Paris is enough. I want to come back home in Milan. And I think later I'm going to go in New York. So we went back in Milan with the team in Milan, with Matteo Nardini and his team. And so we looked to venues all around, venues that he could like. But he didn't like any of them until a friend of him, which is a collector of cars and a garage guy, had bought a new place where he was refurbishing. It was a garage with 2 levels underground, and some levels are very, very strange because very high, but totally dusty, totally destroyed. It was like, when I saw the image and when I went to Milan to look at it, it looked really like a place I say, well, that could be a party for punk. So this is exactly what I want. What could we do inside? And this is how we have the feeling of saying, okay, can you imagine it's a kind of revolutionary people living here. So they have all these posters. And Italian were very, very strong in graphism and also very strong activists in the 70s, 60s, 70s, in a bad way sometime and in a very positive way other time. And there was all these posters, which was like a continuity of the posters of 1905 or 1910, 1917 in Russia at that time, before Soviet Union. And I suggest that why don't you work on that direction and we make posters and you refurbish it as Palm Angel posters, like the palm trees in fires with messages. And so this is the way we went. And we went to bring these people inside this venue, going downstairs in a really place where they have wheels of cars accumulation, but they were there. It was not a wheel, it was not an art piece. To arrive to this kind of long corridor, pretty high, in all concrete, that we cleaned it a bit and put a lot of posters on the walls. And this is another way of provocation, because just after the show, DJ continued to play, bars open, and people could have a drink and listen to music exactly like it was a jamming punk. And that was the first real switch provocation we made. We had to do the other one, which was in more in summer, in June, which was, and it was very warm, and we decided to go in a musical place where there was a huge marquee open on a space like nowhere land. And thinking about what we could do, there was this communication around the magazine about sand, and how sand is also a big problem of ecology. And so Francesco said, well, that's what I want. I want a huge, like sand, as the sand was falling like it was a part of a beach inside his industrial place, dirtiest place. And we have a big truck having Palm Angels symbol on the side. A truck with Palm, like a sand truck. And with Palm Angels, it's totally unexpected. And it was really raw in the feeling. It's really like, this is how it is. And this is where we made the show all around, with a really feeling of provocation again. You went to the punk, and then from the Napoleon III goal in Paris, you arrive in Milan, you went to the punk place, and then you are in the industrial place. It was like statement things. It works pretty nice, this provocation again. And so we had to work on the one after. Francesco had the idea to try to make a show as an art gallery or art museum. To be honest, I was not totally convinced of it, but he's the brand, and like a lot of other designers, they have a vision, and they know the vision better than anyone else. Sometimes they can listen, which is an amazing, cool moment, and sometimes they are so convinced of their vision that we have to make it happen and make it the best and the more similar to what they are expecting. And after a lot of research on his side, he came back to me by maybe 2 or 3 weeks before, saying, well, I don't find the cohesion of all that. What can we do? And I said, well, there is something for me that I love, which is the punk place. We have to find a place where we have to bring people again on an unexpected space, abandoned kind of industrial space, and we have to play with laser beams. I said, wow, laser, like, but how? Like that's real disco? I said, not at all. We're going to use it like, put laser beam on the floor, like 20 centimeters from the floor, creating a square of laser. And the people have to walk inside that. So the laser stop to their feet. Sometimes they're going to try to walk out of the laser. You have the feeling of surveillance. You have a feeling of game in a way, like you were in a video game. And then when they arrive in the room, that should be laser black, like red laser. But when they arrive in the room, which have the same kind of things made with green laser on the ceiling. And after that, when we make the show, we mustn't have a full runway lit. We need to have people standing up, and then the models are walking. You have spaces with lamps. We have to keep this idea of you are in a video game, in a kind of video game where a punk video game, unexpected, and again, with a kind of aggressivism, but not so much. It's more the image you project yourself on what you see, who create. You own yourself create this weird image. So we've done this, and it was the first time from a very long time that I haven't worked with laser. And that was amazing because people were like expecting, they were playing with their foot inside the laser beam, and then we're looking on the ceiling waiting for the show. And so after they were very concentrated in what we have to really look. The collection was amazing, this one, by the way. And so after this punk thing, we shouldn't continue this way. So Francesco said, why don't we go in something like the first show? And I said, with video? I said, no, not with video, but there's a kind of a structure, in a wide structure. And we should do it outside now. So we found a place just at the bottom of the tower of the amazing, beautiful building from the Prada Foundation and Respect. And we went down there on a nowhere land again, and we built a pyramid, absolutely pure white, in the middle of nowhere. On this pyramid, the models were walking after up, like to create some kind of fascist, you may say, thing, structure you can see inside some films of the 40s, but because of what are closed, because of the looks, it gives totally the opposite. It gives more an idea of the middle of Nevada with the installation of Burning Man. And it's very, again, a twist way, I understood. And when he looked 3 days before to the building, He said that could be an helicopter place. We can imagine. So we put on the floor, draw on the floor the circle and the cross as it was a helicopter place going. A helicopter can go up and down like an helicopter airport. I put the people around and we made a show. And the show was amazing to see all this model turning around and taking their position on different places and feeling it, but not feeling it from the top to the bottom, feeling it as if they exactly won. In reality, with June and with the team, we put them in position to have a different harmony between the running order to the final image, because everyone is seeing only 1/4 of the collection at the end. After that, when I may say that 2 years after, I passed by the space and the sign of the helicopter are still there. That's gonna be for history. After this one, he said, now it's time for me to go in New York. Which I think it's one of the very interesting vision. I do believe that a collection and a show shouldn't be for certain brands always at the same place. There shouldn't be a habit. They should go where they want to open, where they want to show. Because it's the fashion show is a place of expression, which should go directly to the people. I also think that the fashion shows should be open more to audience, more to people who love the brand. Let's call it consumers, even if I don't like this word, but people who love the brand. That to the professional of the profession. We tried to find a place in New York and ask him, what is the concept you have? And the concept is, for me, New York are a stage of music, so I would like that people go on a stage. So we found a place which is a dancing rehearsal place, very beautiful theater also, called Cedar Lake. And the team from Alexandra to Edward and Maddie and all the team in New York really made a way that in this space, which was totally adapted, we had a very big backstage who helped a lot to have photos, that Francesco can make his interviews with his VIP, etc. And we could build on the other side like it was a stage. What does that mean, both a stage? It means that the structure of the light has to be super visible, super geometric, and that the people should have light in their eyes for a moment, like really they were on the stage. The sound has to be very directional, very strong, and that in the middle of this, with risers in metal, we had on Francesco ideas, but I would like to have some opposition, like Roman sculpture that the production in New York, Alex and Edward and Maddie and Madison found it at Warner. And we boxed them in fake mirror, see-through mirror, which was amazing that the modernity, when you light inside and you see the sculpture appears, like the Venus or the Apollonis, if I take about the Greek names, and when you switch them off, you have the reflection of the light and reflection of the audience and of the models. It was a very interesting set. Light-wise, we have an introduction of music, of the Ask an expression of music, of a minute and a half. And we begin to work a month and a half ago on computer to link every microsecond of the music to light effect progression. And that create a tension. And this tension, because of the perfection of the link, the tension open to the moment where the first model come. Normally the introduction could be none or 7 seconds or 10 seconds. Here we had more than 90 seconds, which is 1 minute and a half, very long. But the people on stage always will remember it. And it was the same at the end. During the show, the models were lit and the light was a bit plain. But for the finale, it was like the stage, like a U2 concert, with really concentrate on making moving lamps effect, hyper-coordinated, hyper-geometrical, and everything in the rhythm of the music. The reflection on the mirror and the appearance suddenly of the sculpture, the feeling of a breathing, which was something very important, because otherwise this kind of light could be very mechanical, and mechanical is destroying emotion. And the goal was for people to feel a very strong emotion. After that show, who was, for once, I remember him coming at 3 a.m. in the morning and being totally unhappy. And we had to stay all night to work on that. So it was not a change for me, but really unhappy. And then coming back in the morning to see after the rehearsal, to see before the rehearsal what we've done, and being hyper happy. And that's a part of a character in a very positive way for me, because this character is always trying to push again the people that he believes good and even excellent around him further for his own benefit and the benefit of the brand, for which we are all here for. Then the one after, it was the man. He said, now I'm going to make the make in Milan, and we're going to make the Milan, the woman in New York. So we went back in Milan. But after the strength of this show in New York, we couldn't stay just on an aesthetic point of view. So with Matteo, with Marie, with June, with all the team in Milan and in Paris, we said we have to find a space that's absolutely unexpected, even for Milan. So an industrial place, even as beautiful it can be, as brutalism it could be, is something you can find in Milan. So Matteo came with him, why don't we do it in the metro? There is one metro we could maybe do something in. And I said, it's amazing. That's a great idea to, again, go downstairs. It's really a punk idea, but with a new kind of aesthetic. And so when we show the metro to Francesco and to his team, they say, wow, nobody have done that, right? No. Say, why don't we we don't have nature inside? And so we built walls of plants inside the metro with people sitting, super effective light, and the rhythm of light was something who was becoming important for him to be. And so we made this show. The audiences had an invitation with an address in front of. And so they arrive and they see there was guard in front of the metro, so they come to the underground, they have to go down, and they went inside this space, very long, with only plants, like if really the plants have eaten the walls, with light inside, with light on the bottom of their feet, and the show began by only the projection of the models walking in front of them. The audience was in the center, back to back, and the models were lit by light which were on the floor, who light them and project their shadow on the plants. It was a very terrible thing, because you can imagine to work in the metro how difficult it is with people which are doing their job, but doing a job which was so different than our job in the speed, in the way we are used to coordinate everything in a very short time. And after that show, he said, now you have to find something for New York. Find me a venue. I want a huge venue. I want something very big. But I want also to have a place to make a video behind. I want a place to make interviews. I want a huge backstage. And I want it to be very well situated in Manhattan. That was, we had a long discussion with the PR. I said, what is 1,000 of people? We want to have 1,000 of people in New York yet. Are you inviting the consumers? Are you inviting? No, we're not. So basically we need to have what? 400, 500? Yes, and take care. It will be very big VIPs, so we need to have a special entrance for VIPs. So the cahier des charges of what we have to found like a venue was super complicated. Alex and Maddie and the team find, after 2 or 3 weeks of research, an amazing space on the first floor in the middle of the center of Manhattan, Midtown. And it was an old shop on the bottom, an office on the top, very flat, beautiful, and to be rented. So after negotiation, we arrived to show it to Francisco when he was in New York, and he with his team, and he loved it because he totally understand. It was not very, very high. So it was like a question of how do we make something. So I began to draw like Iceland of people and a pathway for the model, which was between all these groups, but very, very clean. He said, I want something to give modernity and luxury, the opposite of rock and roll punk concert. But I want something with a lot of light effect. And I suggested that we build like a gel for the audience of these new LED tubes, very strong light, but also can change color. And so by creating memories and playing with the movement of light, going back and forth of make them flickering, we can create an introduction and a finale with an effect pretty wow. And to have the people to have to walk on a special space to go inside their own island, to create like salon in the idea of couture, where there are no more than 2 rows. So it means that everybody, and a shape very low, very rectangular, benches very rectangular. So and to have this concept of luxury, which is carpet. When a carpet is thick, it's exactly when you walk inside a 5-star hotel. You have the feeling on your foot to be in a luxury space. You have this feeling because when you walk, you have the thickness of wall. So we made a space with this very thick carpet, with little walls, with tubes vertical, every 1.20 meters, all around. And so people can go between this 1.20 meters, where there is no little wall, or they can walk between the tubes. With this, we created like an art installation in which, very humble, but in which the audience was in. But the model walk between this, with the audience looking through the tubes, 1.20 meters, with a good calculation due to the distance of the audience to be able to see with a good angle of view. And with effect of light, as usual, the day of before evening, like 2 a.m., Francesco was totally unhappy. He was unhappy. He said, that doesn't mean a thing. That's not what I'm looking forward, etc., etc. And then the morning of the show, when you arrive and see the rehearsal, you say, that's amazing. It's pure. The effect is direct, but at the same time, super refined. It's superb. And he was really happy. The audience had his entrance when they can see some kind of art installation he made. The super VIP have another entrance where the photographer didn't know, so they can come in and have a space to receive the photos. Oh, everything was linked like a labyrinth when they didn't know it. So we had interns who were in charge of every little production-wise. I wouldn't say it was a nightmare. It was like 3 or 4 times the number of parameters we should take care of on a normal show. And to have the people coming here to have the photos, and on that to have the drink, and to see Francesco on these interviews, and to have the audience arriving, and to be able to see them without disturbing, and blah, blah, blah. It was a very interesting, very slick, fluid show. And that was the last one before COVID. End of the day. Respect for Francesco. His brand, his handling, with so much strength and creativity and also lucidity. And this anger, who have been transformed in a positive and dreamy way. Thank you.